think so.
Yeah. So first of all, I will introduce our speakers this evening. So first of all, thank you for joining in on this webinar. We have tonight Miss May, who's the head of section of the section International. We also have, so who's on my left. We also have Miss Hazid, who's the head of primary.
Good evening.
Who will be, oh, someone can't hear us. Do you mind just letting us know if you hear us? Can you just raise your hand if you can all hear us?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm sorry for the person who can't hear us, but it sounds that it's got maybe something to do with your computer. So Miss Azid is the head of primary, and I'm Jodie Sokan. I'm the head of I'm the admissions manager. So tonight, just to also inform you that the webinar is going to be recorded, so that you know that we will then be sending the webinar over to anyone who asks. So tonight we'll be explaining our program. So we're the Section International of La-Celle-St-Cloud, Noisy-le-Roi. First of all, you might want to make sure you don't confuse it with Saint-Cloud. We are not in Saint-Cloud, we're in La-Celle-St-Cloud. But we'll be showing you a map a bit later. We will be taking questions at the end. So please feel free to send them on the chat and we'll pick them up later. But of course, you can always, ask your questions. So the content of the webinar is first to explain who we are, who actually the program is, because we're not a school, we're a program. The location, so we're actually on 5 different sites. Our offer, you will see that in primary we have 3 different programs. Our curriculum, so this is what Ms. Azid will be explaining, is what we actually teach our children, the students. We're more than a program. We're also a community of parents, and of you'll see that we have plenty of activities planned for and the students and the parents. And lastly, once we'll have convinced you that it's the right program for your child, we will explain how to apply to our program. Michelle, if you don't mind explaining who we are.
So as Mrs. Sokan, as Jody said, we are not a school, but we act like one. So we have an international section. So we have a section where we are the employers of the teacher, and the national education program in France delegates some of the education to us. So we have a total from Grande Section all the way to Terminale, a total of 271 students this year. We're a fee-based section, so we're kind of the private in the public. So we're a private association that tuition is paid for the part of the school week that we are responsible for. But we are integrated into French public schools. So we're welcomed by our partner schools in order to give the continuity and the appropriate level of children's English education within the walls and within the classroom spaces that are lent to us from the Education Nationale. So our programs are accredited. The programs have been approved by the National Minister of Education, etc. The coursework does take place in English. All native speakers on our teaching teams. It's age appropriate for the language level, especially, of course, at primary, because children are still acquiring both their native language or both of their native languages. And so it's age appropriate and targeted to the different levels. And of course, we ask or we insist really that students also have a certain degree of academic ability. That students already have, some experience in a classroom environment, that they already have the basic social skills and know that homework exists, and the teacher's role, etc. So we do have those kind of expectations. It's a parent-led association. We have 20 years of experience. Just last year, we celebrated our 20th year. And in addition to the educational offer, as we'll talk about later, we also have a very vibrant community, a community of parents who are involved, as well as support for their children, support for each other, because there's often a lot of moving and people who have lived abroad and are coming back, or who have come from abroad. So there's a lot to be shared and learned within the community that surrounds the section as well. We currently have 14 teachers. That's not just in primary. That's the entire offer for the international section. We have 2 classroom assistants. One is designated as a reading assistant, and the other is actually in the classroom with the younger children. And we have 4 administrative staff. So myself, Madame Sokan for admissions, as well as a part-time staff member for our accounts, and then one person who works with us for human resources and operations. So it's a nice staff.
So just just telling you more about our locations. We are on 5 different sites. Mostly we're in La-Celle-St-Cloud, so from maternelle up to lycée. Maternelle, primary and collège are all within the groupe scolaire Pasteur in La-Celle-St-Cloud. And then we have Lycée Corneille, which is just outside a bit further away. Let's say you cross the forest and you're in Lycée Corneille. So that's really where our main offer is. You will see on the map, it's the 3 blue dots, and there's one just outside this orange zone. We also have the collège in Noisy-le-Roi, where we have a very dynamic team. It's only 10 minutes drive from La-Celle-St-Cloud. And we're actually seeking to grow in Noisy-le-Roi, so that might happen in the future. The reason why we've put this little orange space or catchment area is for just to explain briefly, because I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the word of dérogation, and this dérogation is mostly an issue for integrated. So how it happens, just briefly, I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I could spend the whole evening talking about dérogation, is that if you live within this catchment area of this orange zone, pretty much, you are in the catchment area of primary, and there is no issue about having a spot in primary Pasteur if your child passes the test. If you live outside of the catchment area, every year we have a certain number of dérogations. So it's not something you need to worry too much about. We will be telling you how many spots we have, how many dérogations we are allowed. So we always have more than enough dérogation spots. So it's not something that is too worrisome. The only, if you are relocating to France, one thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to live in the 78, in the Yvelines. If you live in the 92, the number of dérogations is much less, and it's really not a guarantee. There's no guarantees when it comes to dérogation, but up to now, we've had enough dérogation to meet all the candidatures we've had. But if you live in the 92, which could be appealing because Vaucresson is a 10-minute walk to the Groupe Scolaire Pasteur, it's going to be more difficult to get a spot in integrated. So you do have to bear in mind that our program, not our school, but our program is mostly intended for families who live in the 78. And this is only valid for integrated. For externe, for Wednesday, well, for externe, again, you have to live in the 78, but there's no question of living in the catchment area. This is not an issue. And the Wednesday program, we actually recruit much wider. So for the Wednesday program, you can live in the 92, in the 77 if you'd like. There's no problem. It's just a commute it's just a worry for you to commute. But for the Wednesday program, there's no issues about where you live. We're talking about the school itself. Ruth, if you wouldn't mind telling us more about it.
Good evening. So yes, this is the primary Pasteur school. It's quite an old building, quite attractive building with the forest all around us. And the first photo on the left shows the primary, and in the distance on the far left, you've got part of the maternelle. And then on the right, which you can't quite see. There's the college around the corner. These are typical classrooms. We have 2 classrooms which are reserved especially for the Section Internationale children, for the integrated and external programs. Obviously, for the Wednesday program, we can use some of the French classrooms, but the 2 dedicated classrooms for the international section means that we can create a nice atmosphere, obviously with all our own library and work on the wall, and it's a real English environment. All the programs, let's have a look. Yes, so we have 3 programs. The integration externe are together, basically. The integrated are the children who attend the primary pastor school full-time, and the externe are children who come from other schools and come and join our lessons for 6 hours a week. The Wednesday program, they come to us only for 3 hours a week, every Wednesday morning from 9 to 12. The English program is identical for both, and we're taught. All programs are taught by the same teachers. They're native English speaking teachers, and we all the classes have small class sizes. So the younger classes are 10, and then 12, and then for the older classes, CM1, CM2, are ideally 14, and sometimes we go up to 16. This enables the children to have plenty of time to do oral work, which we obviously encourage. Everyone gets a chance to talk and show and tell for the younger classes, and for the older classes to discuss programs, topics together and do presentations. And as they're small classes, they all get a chance, as I said, to talk. The reading begins in Grande Section. We have a reading assistant which helps the teacher. Sorry if I've gone too fast there. Sorry, Jodie.
I don't know, maybe
Okay.
we can go just more in details in what the difference are between
Yes. Okay. So the English program,
and then we'll go
as I said,
back more
identical.
into the program itself.
Yeah.
Right?
So is the next slide is what? Sorry,
Yeah,
show me.
Maybe Ruth,
Yes.
we'll cover for the more specifics. I mean, in terms of more, how the integrated and the external work. And
Yeah.
then if you can, tell us more about the actual program, what you teach
Okay.
the students.
So the big difference between the integrated and external here, where we can see we have 6 hours a week. There'll be 3 hours of English basically, and then 3 hours of science and geography, or découverte du monde, the world around us, for the younger classes. The science and geography, or the world around us, is the set French program, which we then adapt in English with our own resources. And the language English part is English literature, language, spelling, grammar, which is identical to the Wednesday program as well. So integrated, the children are in the same school, at Pasteur Primary School, all week.
Monday to Friday.
Yes, basically. So they have 2 half days a week. So they have 3 hours either in the morning or 3 hours in the afternoon session, where they come out of their French classes and come to the English section classes, and where we obviously do everything in English. The children have to have a strong level of English, but also as Michel May explained, they have to be academically able to cope with the 2 languages and the homework and the and also to be strong in French. First of all, they are French. They're students of the French school, so they have to be able to cope with the French system, as well as being good enough in English to join our classes. And in the integrated, they will live in the catchment area or have this approved derogation. So the external children can live elsewhere in another community, in another area, but they will come to our classes twice a week for the 6 hours. This is not quite so attractive for many families. We don't have this year, we only have 2 students of externe, mainly because parents or somebody have to bring the children to this class twice a week.
But last year we had nine students.
Last year you had 9. Yes,
yeah,
it depends.
So it all depends.
But this means that the children obviously get the advantage of having 6 hours of English studies a week.
Yeah. So it means if just going further on the external program, the particularities are that you don't need a derogation. So you do need to live in the 78, but you can pursue your dream house because you can go wherever in the 78. But you do, as Miss Azid was explaining, you do have to take into account logistics, because it means that your child will be going to their local school Monday to Friday, but for 2 half days a week, an adult or someone has to take the child to PESTA, to primary PESTA. So it's also essential that you have a good communication with the local school, just to make sure that everything is in line, that your child is not missing key subjects, and that everything is going well. This is the reason why we have few, but we do have students every year.
Okay, so the difference between the Wednesday program then basically is that they have 3 hours of English on a Wednesday morning from 9 to 12. That's for all the classes from Grande Section all the way up to CM2. This is obviously ideal for families coming back from abroad while you're organizing your housing, but also if your child needs to catch up on their French. They have all week in the French school, and then on a Wednesday they have their English studies, so they do not lose the English skills they've achieved. And maybe once their French skills come up to the right level, they can then integrate, obviously, come into the integrated section. So it doesn't matter where you live. Children come from all different areas. Obviously, you have to think about the traveling, but that's all that's required. There's the same teachers as the integrated and external program. As I said, they are native speakers, all from different areas in the world: American, Irish, British, South African at the moment.
They have to get used to all sorts of accents.
Yes. And what is essential for both programs, Wednesday, integrated, and external, is that there should be or has to be some sort of English at home. Even with 6 hours a week, but especially with only 3 hours a week, if there's no English at home, no English input, the children will not progress as well. I don't think it's fair on the child to expect them to only learn English and to maintain the skills only with 3 hours. So it's essential that there's English spoken at home, either through yourselves, field pair, nanny, babysitter, or someone. So that is definitely an essential requirement.
Just chip in. So the fact that it's ideal for families coming back is that your child can go to their local school to pick up on the French. If you're been expatriates for many years, or if you come back, or if you come from abroad, they pick up on the French, and at the same time they come to us on a Wednesday to make sure that they don't lose the English. So we, of course, only offer programs in English. Sorry, Ruth, it's just we've been asked.
Yes, that's fine. Yes, sure.
So the fees are, we say reasonable, because compared to other offers, we feel they are reasonable. And the reason why they are reasonable is because we are an association, and we initially it was created by 4 parents, Miss Azid being one of those parents. And the intention was to make sure that this bilingual program was available to everyone. Therefore, the reasonable fees. So as you will see, the Wednesday program, there's the tuition fee, book fees, and the membership. Membership is membership to the APCEB, so that's the name of the association, and it enables us to organize events. Ruth, would you mind?
Yes, so this is so these are photographs showing the library corners in our classrooms. So obviously we encourage reading. As I mentioned earlier, the Grande Section reading is Grande Section is the year when they begin to read. We have an assistant to help the children, but obviously reading at home is essential. Children will bring books home, which are from our reading scheme, and the delights and pleasures of learning to read are wonderful for a parent and for children. It's very exciting, and they also need their parents' encouragement, and that will be done on an individual basis. Each child progresses at their own rate. So from Grande Section, they're learning to read. CE1, they're still on the reading scheme. And then from CE2, we will go on to group novel fiction books in the classroom, which we study together, ready to prepare themselves for the college studying of novels. So we have language skills, which are basically, this is our textbook we use. This is a structured course which will help students to have different texts for comprehension, writing skills, and speaking and listening come out of these books, which we use as our basis for the 5 to 11 age group. And this is used in all programs. Then for our integrated and external program, they will have the geography and science. This is just an example of a couple of the books we use, but there are other resources. So obviously the science and geography works enables the primary students to have a wider vocabulary, a chance to do more topic work, and to have open discussions about different topics and their thoughts and opinions about things in the world. So 6 hours definitely is more enriching than the 3 hours. Our community, so in the primary section, we have different events in the year. There is always a Christmas show evening where the children, or in the morning for the Wednesday classes, where we have Christmassy, wintry songs, poems, dance, and some sort of social event for parents with a little sort of festive buffet. At the end of the year, we have drama, we have shows which the children, we either write the play or the teachers write it, or with the children's help, and we usually have a theme. This year will be on the environment. We have at the end of the year for Wednesday, a fun day. We have a sports day. And some of these photos are also showing parent events where the association will organize book sales, a quiz night, potluck dinners for parents. And
if I may, Ruth, I think this is the part too that we were mentioning, that the section offers also a very vibrant parent community. Evenings, like you said, kind of potlucks or cocktail evenings, or different outings and get-togethers. And I think that really, for me, has been an experience of underscoring the commitment to not just the classroom language, but the use of English and the cultural and social contexts in which English operates. And so for those families perhaps who have been abroad and want to come back and maintain the English, there's also the English kind of holidays, as well as those key moments in the year that are celebrated, or that we have events that kind of revolve around those moments, but also that the support for your child for play dates, even some of the older children at the collège and lycée are open to doing babysitting. So the community really offers other opportunities to have the English continue and develop and evolve as a daily language. But the commitment, of course, from the teacher's perspective, is to the classroom English and the academic English, which is not gained even if you have English at home. So it's trying to find the combination of both of those things, that I know how to play cards in English, but I can also do a book report. So having that balance and that combination is a value and part of our mission as well.
You might be wondering also who's part of the community, so the type of families that actually come to the section. We don't have statistics, but mostly we have so either families who are relocating to France because they're being sent by their companies and they wish for their children to be bilingual. So either they do have either they are an English-speaking family, or they might be speaking something completely other languages. Portuguese. Exactly. We have many different profiles and nationalities in the school. There's also the obvious which are, a French couple who's been expatriated for so many years and that are coming back with their children who are bilingual. Then we also have some families who, it's binational couple who have lived in France, and the child has been raised in a bilingual environment. We always, for sure, I think the common point of all our families is they have an international twist to them. That's for sure. No doubt about this.
Can I just say one last thing, just the fact to reinforce what they're just saying about the community, that the English in all the programs is very much a family project, and that it is the children's homework encouragement and discussion about what's been happening in school is a long-term family project which you all have to be aware of so that the child can progress at their own level. We are looking to make sure that each child progresses their own with the potential to hopefully reach an international college when they finish primary school. That's our full long-term aim, so that we obviously we will monitor children as they go along, and hopefully that each child can progress and reach their full potential in English.
Yeah, we have a tight communication with between teachers and parents. Not that I know of, but Ruth tells me. And we make sure completely, as Ruth said, it's really the community, the fact that if the child is happy where he is, the parents, it has an impact on the parents, and vice versa is really extremely important. And we also, as we're a parent-led association, we also appreciate when families, parents get involved and show support, not only to the children, but also to the school, to the program. Did you have something to add?
Well, I was mostly thinking when we said that really the primary, of course, the objective is the students progress at their own individual level and ability and interest. But of course, many will continue in a bilingual program in secondary. And we do have a quality program. If you're interested, next week, we'll have our webinar at this same time on the secondary programs. But the secondary program exists, and of course, children can continue through the collège option all the way to the international back in the end of terminal.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you next week as well. And now, hopefully, we've convinced you to join the section. If not, we'll be answering all your questions at the end of the webinar. But how do you apply? Which is a key question. So the admissions, they open on the 1st of December. No need to rush. There is absolutely no need to rush. We prefer to see applications that are complete. You actually have to submit once they are complete. It's not a first come, first serve. So there is absolutely no rush. The deadline to apply is the 4th of March. And the reason why we ask you to wait until you have all the documents is because we also, you will see in the next slide, we also ask for the current reports, school reports. So most schools won't provide them until beginning of next year. The application is only web-based, so it will have to, you will have to go through our website. For the moment, it's not available, but on the 1st of December, you'll see a little button which will say apply now, and it will send you to a form that you'll have to fill out. Just be careful. It's you cannot save. Unfortunately, it doesn't work this way. So you have to ensure you have all the documents ready before you start filling out this form. All the documents, as much as possible, please send them in PDF. It really makes our lives easier. So I've said that you have to have all the documents ready to apply. And also we, again, repeating that we only really assess complete applications. Although we do understand that for some families, you can't provide all the documents we are requesting, because we do request the recommendation form, for instance, but some children won't have an English teacher. And we also ask for school reports, which in certain instances you don't have. But, you know, we are, as I think hopefully you've understood, we are a small section, and we're always happy to answer any questions you have. So if you're struggling on the website, on the form, just get in contact with us. So the process is the following: you apply, and then we have primary entrance tests. There's a official test which is taking place on the Wednesday, 13th of March. It's an oral and written test. So first there's a written test. Depending on the age, it's a certain number, or it's long, a certain. So let me remember. So Grande Section and CP is only an oral test, and then from C1 upwards, it's there's a written and an oral part. In CM2, to give you an idea, it's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half. You know, it's an hour and 30 minutes long. But of course, it's shorter for younger children. We do also organize distance tests, so don't worry. We don't actually ask you to come from Singapore or America or whatever to take the test. we actually organize distance tests between you and the current school. And this will start beginning of March as well. I hope you're not too worried about the French and maths test that you can see on the screen. This is only organized for students who are not in schools that are affiliated with the Éducation nationale. And it's just to assess their level. And as Ruth and as Michelle have been saying in the past, it's important that we don't add too much to your child. So we want to make sure that they actually have, that they're solid and they can take the two curriculums. So this French and math test is only for students who are not in an Éducation nationale school. You will see on the post-it right at the bottom, there is a cost to apply. So it's 105 euros per child. And then we prefer to go little by little. First, we assess your application. And then if they are invited to test, depending on the profile, depending on the documents you've sent, then we'll invite them to the official test, which is 50 euros, as you can see. For distance test, because it's an individual test, it's more expensive. And if your child requires a French and maths test, that comes at the end, once they've passed the English test. We actually don't organize a French and maths if they haven't passed the English. We're not that mean, that horrible to kids. Very important as well is when you get an answer, you will get an answer from us sometime in May, as early as possible. We try and send you the news just before the French Easter holidays, but it's not only us because we have a commission with the Inspection Académique. So we can't release news until we hear back and we have confirmation from them. And this is relevant to the Wednesday external and integrated program. It's not, also just something to mention, it's not because your child has passed the test, has succeeded, that he will be offered a place, because it will also depend on their French and maths. It will depend also on the number of places we have. So it might happen that your child might make it onto a wait list, and you'll hear back from us a bit later. But whatever happens, we do get back to you. So don't worry about, if you haven't heard back, it's just that we might not have an answer yet. The documents that are required, you will find a list on our website, but very quickly, because I'm sure it's getting a bit late for you as well. So there's an online application form via our website that will be available on the 1st of December. You have to fill out all the fields. Then the documents to be provided are a motivation letter in English. It has to be written by parents. It's super interesting to see the children send letters.
They're welcome to.
They're welcome to, and it's really
Some like to.
And it shows dedication, so it's incredible. But we do need to have one written by the parents. Just to give you a bit of a guide, it's really to understand the background of the family and of the child. So where they come from, why do they have this international streak to them, to better understand the family dynamic. The handwritten work, this is something that is usually, if it can be an assignment given by a teacher, graded by a teacher, it mustn't be a grammar exercise. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to see, expression, to see, to what level they actually express themselves. So no need to give us, fill in the whole text.
Right.
Yeah, fill in the blanks text. Yeah. That's not what we're after. We're after sentences. Ruth, if you have something to say. No, it's okay.
No, just to say, yes, basically the idea of the handwritten work is so that we can see the type of handwriting, their sentence construction, obviously depending on the year we're talking about, what age the child is, but it just gives us a guide. And it doesn't mean that if they've written, if you've sent some work which has got lots of spelling mistakes, it doesn't matter. There's not going to be that one piece of work which is going to judge their entrance. So it just gives us a guide, especially if they haven't done so well in their entrance tests. We also have something to back up to say, well, look, they did quite well here and whatever. It's just an extra piece of work to help us. That's all.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning it. For sure. In fact, we assess your application, and then the documents provided will help us also. I'm not the one grading, obviously, but Ms. Hazid and a team will assess then, depending not only on the test, also the documents provided. English score reports, so of any sort, we'd like to see them. French score reports of last year and of this year, the current year, and this is for the integrated program only. The Wednesday, it's not relevant. We don't need to see the French score reports. And for the externe, either, because it doesn't concern PASTA primary. So it's only specifically for the integrated program. Then we will also need a valid email from your child current English teacher. And the reason why is that the section will then contact the English teacher and ask for a recommendation. So you don't need to ask for a recommendation your side. We actually deal with it. So all we need is an email address. We do understand, however, that sometimes a child, for instance, in grande section, mostly in grande section, might not have an English teacher, and just contact admissions once again, and we'll see what we can do. Lastly, very important as well, is once you've filled out this form, once you've provided you've attached all those documents, you will submit the form, and then we will need you to send us a proof of payment of the application fees. So as you've seen in the previous slides, it's 105 euros per child. So you'll have to time it by the number of children you're applying for. And we will need you to send us that proof of payment before we actually assess your application. So it's really essential. Again, by PDF, if possible. I think that's so.
I think so. Yeah, I'd like to, before we get to some questions, I'd like to just clarify with what Mrs. Sokan was saying for the entry tests and the approval when we go and meet with the Éducation nationale for the inspection and they give us the list. That is only for intégré. It's not for externe. Am I correct? The commission and the
the commission,
and it's not for the Wednesday school.
Exactly.
The Wednesday program,
No.
we don't have to have Éducation nationale's approval for those students. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but the only requirement is obviously if we have so many external students that we can't fit them in the school. That's the only time when we will be refused if we're and our size class and the size of our classes as well. If we have too many children, then we can't take any more children. It's literally as simple.
In fact, we're limited. So just so you understand, we're limited in terms of what the French school can admit in terms of number of students, and then in our own classes. So every year we have space, and we will have space, but a certain number every year, which will be defined. It's defined between us and the academy. Just going through the questions now. So we have a question about, so if you're applying from abroad and you don't have a French address, this is not an issue. It happens every year. We have families actually relocating in the middle of the summer or at the end of the summer, just before the school starts. They don't have an address. We have, in fact, we are allowed derogation based on an address, on an address based abroad. So it gives time to the family to actually come and settle. And what happens most of the time is we have families telling us we need a derogation because we're abroad and we're not sure we're going to live in La-Celle-St-Cloud. Most of the time they don't end up using the derogation because they end up finding a property near the school. But this derogation is made available and it will be waiting for you until you relocate. So the issue is getting a spot, that your child succeeds, that we have space. And if it is the case and he's given a spot in the section, the school will wait until you relocate. So just so that it's very clear, the classes, and so we are English section in the sense that your child will be first and foremost a student of the French school and will come to us at a maximum of 6 hours of English per week. I'm not sure that really makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
But only for the integration externally, not for the Wednesday program.
Exactly. So the Wednesday is 3 hours. external and integrated are 6 hours. So it really, you have to really understand that we are, that your child will mostly be studying French and only coming to us for 6 hours per week maximum. Michelle, would you like to take the next one?
Which one are you up to?
This one.
So absolutely, we can accept, the question I have is, do you take children coming from English-only families? Absolutely. The issue is that they will have to be accepted and perhaps play catch-up in the French. They have to be able to follow their French classes, again, at an age-appropriate level, in order to be in the integrated sections. If the family comes and you choose to participate in the Wednesday morning classes, then it's not an issue any level. The family background is less of an issue. But a family can come with, just an English-only family, but the children have to have enough French to be able to integrate into their French classes.
What happens often, and it's every year we have a few families like this, not most, but few families, who the child does not speak any French whatsoever. They go to their local school, learn French. So, for instance, in certain towns, you'll have what we call UPE2A, which is a French immersion program, but not all schools have it. It doesn't matter. Your local school has to take your child. So they'll bring him to level. You have to think of the section as a long-term project. So you come, your child learns French during the, most of the week, comes to us, and that's really important, is he comes to us on the Wednesday so that he doesn't lose the English, because that often happens, is they come with super English, and within a year of not having practice, they lose it. And then the following year, we actually can't take them anymore. So it's really important to keep up with the English. And then the following year, so you've settled, your child goes to local school, picks up on the French. The following September, he can come into the section if he makes it through the test and if he's given a spot. And that happens, often. We have families that take that route. It's just a longer process.
We can accept families, students mid-year, even though the academic year has already started, but it really does depend on the space available and for which program. So as Mrs. Sokan mentioned, we do have kind of two different filters that we have to get through. We have to have the space in the national school and the space in our classes. We have more control about for the numbers in the Wednesday. And so, of course, that's an option if the classes that we have space in them. But we don't have a closeout date. If somebody moves mid-year, we can look at the intake and we can look at the size of our classes and see if it's an option to have an additional student.
Exactly. So you just contact the admissions and we'll tell you if we have space this year or not. And then we have to check also with the teaching team to check if they have space, if they're happy to welcome a new student. We have another question about somebody living in Paris. So we had the same situation last year. Somebody applied living in Paris. It's the same situation as living abroad, funnily enough. You're in the right country, but not in the right town. Again, if your child succeeds in so you can apply. If your child succeeds in the test, you will have to apply for derogation. If we get the derogation for the child, they will just wait for you to confirm the place once you've moved to La-Celle-St-Cloud, if that's the case, or close to the La-Celle-St-Cloud. We would not recommend, honestly, would not recommend for families to actually come to us, based on the derogation and living in Paris. It's just too far. It's too far. The commute is just too far. It doesn't make sense. Even I'm not quite sure for the Wednesday program. Ruth might be saying opposite.
Yeah,
we have families coming from Boulogne, but Paris is getting really far.
Yeah, you do have to consider obviously the traffic and the time spent in the car for the children and going backwards and forwards. And I'd just like to say that if you live in another department apart from 78, if, for example, in 92, if that department has got another option of Section Internationale, then officially the education system will not allow you to come to us. If you have the right option in another place where you live for bilingual education,
prioritize that.
then officially you have to go to that school. So for example, if you live in 92, there are other international schools which can give you the same offer. So that's also another reason why. And in Paris as well, there's lots of schools. So.
Exactly. Just so that you know, dérogation issue is different for collège and lycée than it is for primary. We're much stricter in terms of primary. We have a question, I think Ruth might be able to also give a bit more detail, so we don't have an after-school club on the Wednesday afternoons.
What is the question?
The question is, do we have an after-school, is there a centre de loisirs on Wednesday afternoons?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, the only time when you can have preschool garderie or after school is if you're in the integrated section. We have nothing on a Wednesday or for external students. You have to be a member or part of the Pasteur primary school.
So they can, if they're in a Pasteur primary, they can come to us on a Wednesday and then go into the centre.
No. The centre aéré is only for on a Wednesday afternoon. Is if you live in La-Celle-St-Cloud, you have to belong to the local town.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have a question. Considering the child is enrolled in an integrated program, that's an interesting question.
It is an interesting
Michelle, maybe it's for you.
Yeah, the question is will the child receive a diploma or end of primary school kind of certificate that will allow him or her to apply to other international schools in the future? Again, we're not a school, just a section. And as far as I know, the French system doesn't do a leaving certificate at the end of primary.
We just give them a certificate to say that they've when they leave CM2 that they have a certificate they've been in our section. And obviously as a teacher, if you're applying to a different section or a different school, we are often asked to give a recommendation from us or another school, in which we will do, obviously. But the French don't, I don't think so, no.
And I would certainly be willing as the head of section to provide a attestation or a I have the utmost confidence in my teachers, in our teachers. I would definitely be willing to provide a certificate for a future application. We would hope that you would stay with us, but I do understand that families have to move sometimes.
The next question is about the integrated program. Yes, very good question. In integrated, and Ruth again, sorry, we'll need you to chip in. The integrated program was done in partnership, developed with, in partnership with the Pasteur primary. And so they don't actually miss,
Okay, so the question is, do they miss any French subjects? Is that
exactly?
Okay.
And what subjects do they miss?
Yes. So basically, if they go to if they're integrated at primary Pasteur, they actually miss hardly anything. So the 3 hours is roughly of English per week. So while the children within the international section, the French class will be doing English, which they do an hour and a half a week. So basically, while they're doing their English, ours are doing English at their level. And also they might miss a little bit of literature, maybe some poetry in French, but the literature side of things they will be asked to catch up on, maybe reading books or depending on each class teacher. And then all the science and geography or the world around us for the younger classes is done in our classrooms, and the French teachers are doing the same subjects, but obviously in French, in the French classroom. So basically all the international students are learning geography and science, the world around us, only in English, and the French teacher will be doing that at the same time. So basically, they do not miss much at all.
What are the differences between the 4-5 campus? In fact, it's just the schools that are. So we have 5 sites. We partner with 5 different schools: maternelle, kindergarten, then primary, then secondary on 2 sites, so Collège Pasteur and Collège La-Cantine and Noisy-le-Roi, and lastly Lycée Corneille. So our program actually expands from grande section up until terminale, where they don't prepare in terminale, but they prepare in seconde for 3 years the BFI, so the Bac Français International. So in the Wednesday program, we have the same number of students, the same requirements. I don't think we mentioned it. So we have the same requirements The test is actually the same, whether the children are applying for integrated externate or Wednesday. We also have the same class sizes. So it's roughly, grande section CP is 10 per class, then CE1, CE2, 12, and CM1, CM2, 14. It can exceptionally go a bit higher than this. Yeah, as I'm telling you, these are sizes we like to try and respect. We see what happens and we see what type of students. It depends on the teacher. It depends on the students and the class. Would you agree, Ruth?
Yes, definitely. Yes, the main reason why we will not, or really hope not to go above those class size, is so that we can keep quality teaching and time for each child to have some sort of individual attention and be able to express themselves orally. When there's too many children in the class, they don't all get a chance to speak, except for those who are very confident, obviously.
And to guide their progress as well.
Yes,
one of the things we pride ourselves on as teachers of small groups is to be sure that the students in our classes have individual guidance and feedback on the work that they do, and targeted the areas where they can progress.
We have a question also about grande section or maybe CP. It's a good question. If your child comes from hors contrat, for grande section, all we need is a motivation letter to understand better, again, the background of the family. And that's it. They will be tested like other children. If they do,
I was just going to say that the testing for grande section and CP are individual tests, whereas the others are obviously put in for the written test together and then individual orals. But the grande section CP, we have an individual moment with each child where obviously there's some chatting about who they are, asking them about their letter sounds and vocabulary, and just to see how they communicate and to follow instructions and how they hold their pencil, manual skills, and that sort of thing.
And something we forgot to mention is that for all CPs, there's what we call CP sécurisé. So actually, all the CP candidates will meet with the headmistress, with Mrs. Briand, for the integrated program, to make sure they have the required level in French and maths. It's what we call CP sécurisé. And this, all students will go through it. So the differences, if that's okay, I'll answer this one. The difference between the 3 different programs, just really basically to explain. Integrated, your child goes from Monday to Friday to the same school. 2 half days a week, they go to the section classroom, but they're in the same school all the time. Externé, your child goes to their local school. So let's say you live in Lucienne, they go to the local school and comes to us twice a week for 2 half days. So it has to be taken by an adult to our school. Same classes. In fact, your child, whether he's an externate or an integrated, he will find himself in the same class as everyone else, in integrated and externate mixed. A Wednesday program, completely entirely different. So externate integrated is 6 hours per week, whereas the Wednesday is only 3 hours per week on a Wednesday morning, 9 to 12. So the requirements are the same, but obviously the family involvement is quite different. Ms. Hazid has stressed the fact that in any case, in all programs, the involvement of parents is essential, but even more so for the Wednesday program.
I think we have one more question, but now I'm not sure. I've lost the thread.
Yeah, I think I've lost it as well. Sorry.
Formal paperwork. Ah, okay.
So that we answered.
I got it. But not for the section. If they're going to do integrated in grande section from a school or contrat, is there special paperwork?
Ah, okay. That's a good question. It depends where the family lives. Does the family live in the catchment area? Then they just have to go to the town hall and say that they want their child to be enrolled in Pasteur Maternelle, the local school in Bougival. If you live outside of the catchment area, in Bougival, for instance, then you have to apply for derogation. So you would go through the same the first step is to actually apply to the program, pass the test, and once you pass the test, we ask to the inspector academic to grant you a derogation. And if it is the case, your child can come to Maternelle Pasteur.
But we are the closest integrated section to Bougival. So depending on how much space is available in the primary school, chances are good that the inspection will grant the derogation because we are the local and closest offer.
We usually have, it's surprising, but we do usually have more derogation than we use. Because as I was explaining, families from abroad will ask for derogation and in the end won't use it because they'll come and live locally. So we usually do have more derogation. What you do have to understand is that derogation are a question of priority. So it means that if you live in the catchment area, your priority to have the spot. Not talking about derogation, you don't need the derogation, but you have priority because it's less of a problem. You know, there's no questions about whatever different budgets or whatever. If you live in La-Celle-St-Cloud, outside of the catchment area, then you have second priority because you live in town. We have an agreement with the town hall to facilitate. It doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but the town hall tries to facilitate to accept derogation intramuros for families living in La-Celle-St-Cloud, but outside of the catchment area. Then if you live outside of La-Celle-St-Cloud, again, you're below in terms of priority to a derogation. And so little by little, there you go. But there's no, once the derogation is extramuros, so outside of La-Celle-St-Cloud, we don't take into account the distance of the town. And somebody living in Bougival or Croissy, or even as far as Maule, will have the same priority of derogation. So that will be more based on the profile of the child. Having said that, if you live in a 92, that's when you're at a bit bottom of the list, I'm sorry, in terms of derogation. Yeah, you're really the last ones to get the derogation if you ask for one. We have another question.
For grande section, for a child coming from an hors contrat school, do our school reports required? Yeah.
No, for grande section, we don't request school reports. If you do have some, of course, we're always happy to see them. But Ruth, please tell me if I'm wrong, but we assess mostly the child on.
But is this a child applying for integrated to go into Maternelle Pasteur? Is it
exactly? Yeah.
Full-time. Yes. No. If you live in the catchment area, then there's no testing as far as the French is concerned.
If you live outside of the catchment area, in terms of French and maths, we haven't had the issue yet.
Grande section is brand new. This is the first year that we've
yes,
had.
but if they're asking for integrated, it will be the same. Yes, if they have to. I imagine the maternal teachers will want to see how the child is coping in their French school if they're asking for integrated.
But if the school does not provide a school report, it might be
French
possible.
schools. French schools don't supply school reports in maternelle.
It's an hors contrat.
Hors contrat. Well, we'll get a teacher recommendation.
Yeah, teacher recommendation, or maybe.
Or we'll just see how they're doing the test, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, we'll take it from there and see maybe the headmistress will require, like Mrs. Briand asked for the sécurisé, she might, the headmistress of maternelle might ask to meet with the child. We'll have to see.
There's always a way forward.
I think, Ruth is right. We'll take it from there, from once they've passed the test.
Maybe the last question, because we're about an hour. But of course, any questions that you come up with when the meeting is over, Jody and I are both, and Ruth Hasid are all available to answer any further questions you may have. But any constraint for kids coming from an international school, not that I can think of.
The only question is whether it's hors contrat or sous contrat. If it's sous contrat, there's no French and maths test, but if they're hors contrat, if it's an international school that is hors contrat, then your child will have to be tested in French and maths. I hope that answers your question. For integrated only, exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
I think we've
Yes.
gone around on all the questions. So again,
think
as
so.
Michelle May has said, we're happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
Give us a call. We can organize also Zoom calls as much as possible. We
Mhm.
can also organize school visits. But yeah, just give us a call and we can take it from there.
We'll keep in touch.
Exactly. We'll keep in touch. We hope you found the webinar informative.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you
Good
for
evening.
following us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.